Barron Trump mock TV host after Melania Trump's $100 million defamation lawsuit. Barron Trump had always been somewhat of an enigma in the media, while his father Donald Trump had spent years in the limelight, dominating headlines as both a businessman and later as the 45th President of the United States. Barron was known for his relative silence and private demeanor. He had never been the type to seek attention. In fact, as the youngest member of the Trump family, he often went to great lengths to avoid it, but everything changed the moment his mother, Melania Trump, found herself caught in the crossfire of a heated controversy. It all started with a live broadcast of The Views, a talk show notorious for its bold opinions and lively discussions. The hosts, known for their sharp takes on political and social issues, often stir the pot, but this particular episode would go down as one of their most provocative on the show. Sunny host and the main host began discussing Melania Trump's time as First Lady, focusing on a series of personal attacks. Sunny suggested in uncertain terms that Melania disliked her role in I didn't seem to care for her position in the White House. The comments were harsh, unfair, and painted Melania as detached and uninterested in her public duties. Melania Trump hates Christmas, Sunny said with a dismissive tone, adding she doesn't want to decorate for Christmas. She doesn't care about the role of First Lady. She probably doesn't even want to sleep in the same room with her husband. The accusations didn't stop there. They moved from criticizing Melania's lack of enthusiasm for her First Lady role to outright insinuations about her relationship with Donald Trump. There were claims that their marriage was cold and that Melania was dissatisfied with her life in the White House. Sunny even mentioned the widely debunked rumors about Donald Trump's infidelity during Melania's pregnancy, drawing unwanted attention to issues that were at best private matters for Melania. These baseless accusations were too much. She had always remained reserved, focusing on her role as First Lady and later as a mother. But this time he couldn't stay silent. The public attack on her character and the suggestions about her marriage crossed the line. As the news of these comments spread, Barron Trump, a teenager who had grown up in the shadow of the media, felt a surge of emotion he had never experienced before. He had witnessed his family endure public scrutiny for years, but seeing his mother personally attacked was something different. Barron had always kept a low profile, rarely seen in public and never engaging in political discussions, but this time something inside him clicked. Barron wasn't just going to let the media get away with spreading lies about his family, especially when it involved his mother. Instead of taking the usual route of staying silent, Barron took to social media, where he posted a brief but powerful video message. Everyone keeps thinking they can say whatever they want about my family, Barron began. His voice is steady but with an unmistakable edge. They attack my father, they attack my mother, they attack us because they think we're easy targets. Well, not this time. Barron's message was clear. He wasn't just defending his mother. He was taking a stand. The silence that had followed his family for years had finally been broken. Barron was ready to fight back. While Barron's video quickly went viral, their else storm was brewing behind the scenes. Melania Trump, having consulted with her legal team, made a bold decision. She was suing The Views for defamation, demanding $100 million in damages. The lawsuit wasn't just about money. It was about defending her reputation, protecting her honor, and making sure that no one would ever again use their platform to tear apart their character without consequence. The $100 million figure was shocking, but Melania was resolute. She knew that if she didn't act, now these kinds of attacks would continue to escalate, and other public figures would think they could get away with destroying people's reputations without facing any real consequences. I will fight until the end, Melania said in a statement to the press. This is about standing up for everyone who's been unfairly targeted, misrepresented, and lied about. The media world was this wasn't just another lawsuit. This was Melania Trump, the former First Lady, taking on one of the most famous talk shows in the country. The stakes were high, and the drama was palpable as the legal battle took shape. The hosts of The Views found themselves on the defensive. They hadn't expected Melania to fight back so aggressively in a follow-up segment. Sun Nyhostin tried to downplay the situation, but her words felt forced. We didn't meant to attack Melania personally, she said, attempting to backtrack. We were simply discussing her role as First Lady and some of the difficulties she faced whenever intended to cause harm. But it was too late. The damage had been done, and Melania wasn't backing down. You can't just say things about someone and pretend there are no consequences, Barron Trump said in an interview shortly after its time. People learned that words matter. Sunny, visibly uncomfortable, tried to recover. Well, I think you'll need to take a step back and be more respectful moving forward, she said, but it was clear the damage had already been done to her credibility. Barron continued to make waves in the media, but it wasn't about making headlines for himself. It was about setting the record straight for his mother and showing the world that the Trump family wasn't going to sit Idly, while the media spread false narratives in his next video, Barron addressed the media directly. "You've been writing lies about us for years, but you've gone too far now. My mother is strong, and she will defend herself and will fight to protect her family. This lawsuit isn't just about her, it's about everyone you've tried to tear down with your words." Barron's message struck a chord with many who felt that the media had become too powerful, too reckless in its pursuit of sensational stories. The lawsuit wasn't just about protecting one family. It was a call for accountability in the media. The gloves were off, and Barron Trump wasn't backing down as Melania's defamation lawsuit moved forward. The media storm surrounding the case only intensified the talk show world, including The View, had never seen anything quite like this, a former First Lady taking legal action so aggressively with a price tag so high for Barron Trump. The fight was far from over. The young man, once regarded as shy and private, was now speaking out more and more in defense of his family. His words weren't just directed at The View's or Sunny Hostin. They were a message to the entire media landscape. "You think it's okay to attack us," Barron said in an online video, his voice unwavering. "You think because we're public figures we don't have feelings or don't care about our names being dragged through the mud. But you're wrong, we care, and we will fight." The weight of his words was felt across the nation. The media that had spent years casting aspersions on his family suddenly found themselves facing a backlash they hadn't anticipated. Barron Trump wasn't just a passive figure in his family anymore. He had become a warrior in his own right, standing up for his mother, for his father, and for the integrity of their name. As the days passed, The Views was under immense pressure. To respond, their viewers were divided. Some supported the show's right to free speech, believing they were simply engaging in political discourse. Others felt that the show had crossed a line, turning from a platform for debate into a personal attack. Sunny Han, who had been one of the most vocal in her criticism of Melania, found herself in a tough spot. The lawsuit was serious, and her comments had clearly escalated the situation. The public outcry was becoming impossible to ignore. In an attempt to mitigate the damage, Sunny issued an apology during a live segment. "I want to clarify that my comments about Melania Trump were not meant to attack her personally," she said, to no more measured than it had been in the past. "We were talking about her role, her decisions, but I understand that my words were harsh and I regret if they caused harm." Her apology did little to quell the flames. Many saw it insincere, just another attempt to save face. The damage had already been done, and the media had already shifted their focus to the legal battle unfolding before them. Barron Trump's words echoed louder than ever with the lawsuit making its way through the courts. Barron had become somewhat a face celebrity in his own right. His videos and public statements began to gain traction. What started as a private family matter how turned into a national conversation about defamation, media ethics, and the power of the press. Barron was no longer just defending his mother. He was defending his family's right to privacy. He began speaking out not just against The Views, but against a broader culture that thought it could destroy people's lives for the sake of a story. In a particularly emotional video posted on social media, Barron said, "Ignore my mother, she's not perfect. None of yous are, but what they're doing to her, what they've done to all of us is unacceptable. You don't get to tear apart someone's life, their reputation, just because it's convenient for your ratings." So it was clear that Barron wasn't just venting his anger. He had become a symbol for those who felt voiceless, for those who had been bullied or misrepresented in the public. His fight wasn't just for the Trump family. It was for anyone who had been hurt by false accusations. As the case moved through the court system, as stakes grew higher, Melania Trump's legal team was relentless, and the $100 million lawsuit was a serious threat to the hosts of The View. For the first time in years, the media world was looking at an actual consequence for reckless statements. The courtroom drama was intense, with both sides presenting their arguments. Melania's team argued that the host of The View had crossed a line by making false statements about her marriage, her personal life, and her role as First Lady. They contended that these baseless claims had damaged her reputation and caused irreparable harm to her public image. Meanwhile, The View's legal defense team tried to paint the lawsuit as an attack on free speech, arguing that the comments were part of the public discourse. They claimed that the host had merely expressed opinions and shouldn't be held accountable for the personal opinions they shared on air. Barron watched every development closely. He wasn't just sitting back and letting the case unfold. He was an active participant, posting updates on his social media platforms, defending his mother's integrity, and calling out the media for its hypocrisy. "What's being said in that courtroom is nothing compared to what was said about using the press," Barron remarked in a video. After one particularly dramatic court session, "This isn't just about my mom, this is about all of us. We'll deserve respect, and none should be allowed to smear someone's reputation without consequences." As the case neared its final stages, the tension in the courtroom was palpable. Melania Trump had proven to be an unyielding force in her fight for justice, and Barron, once quiet and introverted, had found his voice in the media, and beyond the Trump family of 10 seen as a lightning rod for controversy, now stood united in their battle for respect. On the day the ruling was finally delivered, the media was glued to their screens, eagerly awaiting the verdict. Would Melania Trump win her $100 million lawsuit, or would the press be granted a free pass to continue targeting public figures without consequence? The courtroom was tense. Barron sat in the front row, his eyes locked on the judge. As the decision was read, the judge ruled in favor of Melania Trump, granting her a substantial settlement and a public apology. From the views, the $100 million in damages wasn't fully awarded, but the symbolic victory sent tame Sag to the media world. With the cases settled, the Trump family took a moment to breathe, but Barron's fight didn't stop there. The court victory wasn't just a win for him and his mother, it was a victory for anyone who'd ever been unfairly targeted in the media. "I didn't just do this for my mom," Barron said in his final video on the subject. "I did it for everyone who's ever been smeared, for everyone who's been treated unfairly because of things that aren't true." And with that, Barron Trump once again faded into the background, leaving the public with one lasting message: the truth, heaven in the face of overwhelming public scrutiny, will always prevail. The court ruling was a landmark moment not only for the Trump family but for the media landscape as a whole. The lawsuit had raised crucial questions about the boundaries of free speech and the responsibility of the press when it came to public figures. For Barron, the quiet aftermath was almost as intense as the battle itself. In the months following the lawsuit, the media's focus on his family started to shift. There were fewer headlines attacking Melania, fewer stories about the Trump family's personal lives, but Barron knew the fight wasn't over, had become imble not just for his family but for a new generation that was ready to stand up against false narrative. She had always been the silent figure in the observant, introverted content, to remain out of the limelight. But now something had changed. The fight had given him a new sense of purpose, a new voice that he used carefully but with conviction. He wasn't just the son of the former president. There was someone who had seen firsthand the power of the media to shape narratives, and he knew that in a world where public perception could be controlled by a headline, standing up for the truth was one of the most important things a person could do. The ruling was just the beginning of a larger conversation about the ethics of the press, and Barron understood that the journey ahead would be long, but for now he allowed himself a moment of peace. His family was safe, their reputation partially restored, and he had proven that standing up to the media could make a difference. While the Trump family took a path back, the media machine kept turning. The Views and its hosts, in particular, had been under fire for months. But the ruling in Melania's lawsuit was the final blow. The public backlash was swift. Some critics applauded Melania for standing up to the media, but many found themselves questioning the integrity of a show that had for years relied on sensationalism and personal attacks. Sunny host Stanley Bahart, with the most vocal critics of the Trump family on the show, were forced into damage control. The apology from Sunny had been too little, too late for many. As the weeks went by, their show's ratings began to suffer, and the hosts were left to reflect on what had happened. They had been caught in their own hypocrisy, blindsided by their own rhetoric. "People want to know if we're going to change after all this." Lee Bears Ed speaking candidly in a rare moment of vulnerability on air. "But honestly, I think we did what we believed was right. We've always questioned the power structure and the people who are supposed to be the role models, and I'm not sorry for speaking my mind. But I do see now that there's a cost to that." For Sunny, host in the lawsuit, had hit closer to home. She had become one of the most vocal critics of Melania, suggesting that the former First Lady hated Christmas and was unhappy in her marriage. The public backlash was harsh, and many saw it as a direct result to fair inflammatory comments, but rather than retreat, she doubled down on her stance, refusing to back down. "We're neither to apologize for having an opinion," Sunny declared during a heated exchange on The Views. "The problem is no one ever wants to listen to what we have to say. It's always about who we're attacking." As the media circus around Melania and The Views continued to unfold, Barron's influence grew, while the media's attention turned to the damage control efforts of the show's host. Barron remained steadfast in his silence. He knew his fight had made a difference, but their impact came in the form of long-term change, a shift in the narrative about the Trump family. In a final video message shared with his growing social media following, Barron spoke directly to the millions who had followed the lawsuit. "You can't just say whatever you want about someone and get away with it." At the began, his voice is steady and strong. Media thinks they can make a story out of anything, out of lies, out of rumors, out of accusations. But this isn't just about defending my mom, it's about defending all of us who are being misrepresented, who are being torn apart without cause. People think we're all just fair game because we're in the public eye. Barron continued, his tone unwavering. "But we're human. Do we have the right to privacy, to dignity, to be treated fairly? And that's why we fight back. This case was never just about a dollar amount. It was about setting a standard, about telling the world that we're not going to stand by and let our names be dragged through the mud. In the quiet moments after the ruling, Melania Trump sat back in her chair, reflecting on everything that had transpired, the lawsuit, the media frenzy, the criticism, and the eventual victory. It had been a long, arduous journey, one that she had walked with an unwavering grace. All Beauty had also been a journey that had strengthened her family. Barron's resilience had inspired her. It wasn't just her reputation that was on the line, it was her family's legacy. Their integrity, their honor, and Barron had stood by her, fighting not just for her but for everyone who had been unfairly targeted by the media. In a rare interview, after the case concluded, Melania spoke about the experience. This wasn't just about a legal battle, she said quietly, here yes, reflecting the weight of the years of public scrutiny. It was about standing up for what's right, for showing that no matter how big or small, we'll deserve respect. That's the lesson I hope people take away from this. As the dust settled and the media world began to shift, Barron's stance against the media resonated with a growing number of people who felt the same way. The lawsuit had opened up a larger discussion about the ethics of journalism, the impact of media on personal lives, and the responsibility that comes with fame. Barron's message wasn't just about one family. It was about everyone who had ever been misrepresented, targeted, or misunderstood. His call for a more responsible media was a call for humanity, for decency, and for the acknowledgement of people's right to privacy. For the Trump family, this was a victory not just in the courtroom, but in a larger cultural war battle for truth, respect, and the power of standing up against falsehoods. As for Barron, Heck knew this fight wasn't over. The media would continue to try to shape their own narratives. But Barron Trump had shown them that one voice could make a difference.